Observed on the first Monday in September, Labor Day is a creation of the labor movement and is dedicated to the social and economic achievements of the American worker. It represents a yearly national tribute to the contributions that workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and well-being of our country. Labor Day is different from every other holiday. All other holidays are connected to either a noted and respected person, a great battle or the end of a conflict, or a historical event. Labor Day is devoted to no single man or woman, nor to any race, creed, or event. It is simply a celebration of the achievements of the American worker. While most Americans take off work on Labor Day, it must be noted that millions of hardworking Americans, like those in the retail and service industries, along with those in law enforcement, public safety, and healthcare, observe Labor Day by working as usual. While Labor Day is an annual celebration of workers and their achievements, the holiday originated during one of American labor history's most dismal periods. In the late 1800s, at the height of the Industrial Revolution in the United States, the average American worker worked 12 hours a day and 7 days a week just to make enough for a basic living. Despite restrictions in some states, children as young as 5 and 6 worked in mills, factories, and mines across the country, earning a fraction of the wages that their adult counterparts earned. People of all ages, particularly the very poor and recent immigrants, often face extremely unsafe working conditions with insufficient access to fresh air, sanitary facilities, and breaks. As manufacturing increasingly replaced agriculture as the mainstay of American employment, labor unions, which had first appeared in the late 18th century, grew more prominent and vocal. These unions began organizing strikes and rallies to protest poor working conditions and compel employers to renegotiate hours and pay. Many of these events turned violent during this period, including the infamous Haymarket Riot of 1886, in which several Chicago policemen and workers were killed. One such event gave rise to what we now call Labor Day. On September 5, 1882, 10,000 workers took unpaid time off to march from City Hall to Union Square in New York City, holding the first Labor Day parade in U.S. history. There is still disagreement as to who first suggested this national day off. America's carpenters and construction workers, along with some historians, claim that it was Peter J. McGuire, the General Secretary of the Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners and the co-founder of the American Federation of Labor, who first suggested a day to honor those who from rude nature have delved and carved all the grandeur we behold. Others believe that it was Matthew McGuire, no relation to Peter, who was a machinist and ultimately elected as secretary of Local 344 of the International Association of Machinists in Paterson, New Jersey, who proposed Labor Day in 1882 while serving as secretary of New York's Central Labor Union. Either way, history is clear that the first Labor Day observance was held in accordance with a plan developed by Matthew McGuire's Central Labor Union. The plan proposed a street parade to exhibit to the public the strength and esprit de corps of the trade and labor organizations of the community, followed by a festival for the recreation and amusement of the workers and their families. The idea of a working man's holiday caught on in other industrial centers across the country, and many states passed legislation recognizing it. In 1884, the Labor Day observance was changed to the first Monday in September as originally proposed by the Central Labor Union. The union then urged other unions and trade organizations to begin holding similar working men's holidays on the same date. The idea caught on, and by 1885, Labor Day observances were being held in industrial centers nationwide. As with most things involving a potential day off, Labor Day became very popular very fast, and by 1885, several city governments had adopted ordinances calling for local observances of Labor Day. While New York was the first state legislature to propose official, statewide observance of Labor Day, Oregon was the first state to actually adopt a Labor Day law on February 21, 1887. In the same year, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York also enacted Labor Day observance laws, and by 1894, 23 other states followed suit. Congress did not legalize the holiday until 12 years later, when a watershed moment in American labor history brought workers' rights squarely into the public's view. On May 11, 1894, employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company in Chicago went on strike to protest wage cuts and the firing of union representatives. On June 26 of that year, the American Railroad Union, led by Eugene V. Debs, called for a boycott of all Pullman railway cars, crippling railroad traffic nationwide. To break the strike, the federal government dispatched troops to Chicago. The troops were met with a wave of riots that resulted in the deaths of more than a dozen workers. In the wake of this massive unrest, and in an attempt to repair ties with the American workers, Congress passed an act making Labor Day a legal holiday in the District of Columbia and the territories. In 19th century America, there was already a tradition of having parades, picnics, and various other celebrations in support of labor issues, such as shorter hours or to rally strikers. But most historians emphasize one specific event in the development of today's modern Labor Day. That pivotal event was the Parade of Unions and a massive picnic that took place in New York City on September 5, 1882. At that time, the labor movement was growing stronger. Many of the unions in New York prospered by joining together into one central labor union, made up of members from many local unions. On May 14, 1882, a proposal was made at the Central Labor Union meeting that all workers should join together for a monster labor festival in early September. A committee of 5 people was appointed to find a park for the celebration. They chose Wendell's Elm Park at 92nd Street and 9th Avenue, the largest park in New York City at the time. The date was set for Tuesday, September 5th. By June, they had sold 20,000 tickets, with the proceeds going to each local union selling them. In August, the Central Labor Union passed a resolution that the 5th of September be proclaimed a general holiday for the working men in this city. At first, they were afraid that the celebration was going to be a failure. Many of the workers in the parade had to lose a day's pay in order to participate. When the parade began, only a handful of workers were in it, while hundreds of people stood on the sidewalk cheering them on. But then, slowly they came. 200 workers and a band from the Jewelers Union showed up and joined the parade. Then came a group of bricklayers with another band. By the time they reached the park, it was estimated that there were 10,000 marchers in the parade in support of workers. The park was decorated with flags of many nations. Everyone picnicked, drank beer, and listened to speeches from the union leadership. In the evening, even more people came to the park to watch fireworks and dance. The newspapers declared it a huge success and a Day of the People. After that major event in New York City, other localities began to pick up the idea for a fall festival of parades and picnics celebrating workers. Labor Day celebrations originally consisted of street parades and community parties. Speeches by prominent men and women were introduced later, as more emphasis was placed upon the economic and civic significance of the day. Still later, by a resolution of the American Federation of Labor Convention of 1909, the Sunday preceding Labor Day was adopted as Labor Sunday and dedicated to the spiritual and educational aspects of the labor movement. The character of the Labor Day celebration has undergone a change in recent years, especially in large industrial cities. As massive displays and gatherings became larger problems for safety agencies, especially in large industrial centers, the character of Labor Day celebrations have changed. However, those changes have been more of a shift in emphasis and medium of expression. Thanks mainly to television, the internet, and social media, Labor Day addresses by leading union officials, industrialists, educators, clerics, and government officials are delivered directly into the homes, swimming pools, and barbecue pits of Americans nationwide. The U.S. Labor Department's official statement regarding Labor Day reads, "The vital force of labor added materially to the highest standard of living and the greatest production the world has ever known, and has brought us closer to the realization of our traditional ideals and economic and political democracy. It is appropriate, therefore, that the nation pay tribute on Labor Day to the creator of so much of the nation's strength, freedom, and leadership, the American worker." Today, Labor Day is celebrated in cities and towns across the United States with parades, picnics, barbecues, fireworks displays, and other public gatherings. For many Americans, particularly children and young adults, Labor Day represents the end of summer and the start of the back-to-school season.